Russia is big.
No shit.
And yeah, as much as it's big, it's fucking complicated. Alright, so if you're like me and you've ever scrolled around Wikipedia to boredom, you might have always wondered on how a country, what's the US, is described. And yeah, it might be because of politics, it might be because of some significant event in its history, and yeah, things that make people wonder whether or not you're an actual human being, or the average poll board user of 4chan. And yeah, if you might be that guy, well, welcome to the channel, and or get a job. And yeah, if you might have stumbled upon this monstrosity of a map, you might have asked yourself, why? Why does this even exist? Like, who even made this? Anyways, yeah, we're talking about the organization of Russia. Okay, the Russian Federation. The Russian Federation, as it says in its name, is a conglomeration of different regions that make up the peoples and constituent parts of the Russian state. And with those regions they come with names, but not really like the normal traditional names like provinces and counties. Rather they're named as, well, Krais, republics, oblasts and cities. I do not know how to sing, so bear with me on this one. Autonomous Okrugs, autonomous oblasts, and yada yada yada.
Snap back to reality.
So yeah, you can see Russia is pretty unique in its way of handling administration. And yeah, you might be asking yourself, what is a Krai? What is a republic? And what is the difference between an oblast and an autonomous oblast? Well, I read the stuff, I read the notes, and simplified this shit to a point that even an iPad kid can understand. And yeah, here are the federal subjects of Russia. The Oblasts. If you live in these countries, you might know or might have heard the term Oblasts. And yeah, the word Oblast is a Slavic word that can roughly be translated into the word region or province in the English language. Russia in this case is one of the 7 countries in the world that uses the term Oblast to refer to its constituent regions, and hence the Oblasts are the most common and widespread administration type that are in the Russian Federation. Now the question is, what is an Oblast? So basically an Oblast is a part of Russia that is like this. Hey, I like Russia, I like Moscow, and yeah, I just don't mind with Russia with all of its antics, and yeah, we're just pretty cool with the entire government. Well, some of us. We do it mostly because of desperation, and yeah, honestly, overall we are alright with being a part of Russia, as long as they help us out with our issues like, for example, infrastructure, and most importantly, well, money. And yeah, the Oblasts of Russia are just generally the parts of Russia that don't mind being very close to Moscow and the larger Russian government. So for all of you Westerners, it's basically like how the states in the US are with the larger federal government. As in this case, well, yeah, when you're talking about Russia, it's just generally the core parts of the Russian state. And yeah, that being said, the Oblasts do have some differences when you compare them to the other federal subjects. And yeah, one such example is ethnic makeup, which is pretty much how a group of people of a specific ethnic group live in a certain region.
Holy mother of God!
And yeah, if you look into the ethnic makeup of Russia, it is mostly seen that the Oblasts have Russians as the clear majority. Hence, you may observe that the Russian Oblasts are mostly situated in the side of Russia that sees themselves as pasty white boys. And honestly, yeah, that's pretty much the Oblasts. When it comes to the Oblasts, they're basically, well, that's the sides of Russia that actually want to be a part of Russia and actually want to be a part of the system that make up the Russian state. And yeah, they don't have a unique language to preserve because they're mostly Russians, they have no separate constitution from the Russian constitution, and they don't have any political autonomy that allows them to actually, in theory, make them able to govern themselves in some way or another. And yeah, even though they are a Russian majority, they still have the same rights and privileges as the other federal subjects types of Russia. As all of them, and I mean all of them, can still participate equally in the Russian government in sectors such as the Federation Council and the State Duma. Where in the Federation Council, each region sends 2 representatives, one chosen by the governor and one chosen by the local legislature. So yeah, let's just talk about the republics. The republics. The republics of Russia are the parts of Russia that basically say this. Hey, I just want to say, I don't fuck with you in any way, shape or form. Your people are not the majority in our region, and yeah, we feel that we can just be our own countries to some extent. Well, okay, some of us, we really feel we can work things out with you, And yeah, just give us some space to just, well, exist as our own countries and stuff like that. And yeah, we're even okay with autonomy, and yeah, we're just okay with even autonomy. And yeah, the republics are the parts of Russia that have a titular nation. That is basically an ethnic group that forms up the strong majority of a state. And yeah, that being said, you might know some republics in Russia, such as the one and only and the one place that produces the best UFC fighters, Dagestan, and also Chechnya, or just in general the Northern Caucasus. And yeah, the republics of Russia are different from the rest in that they have a constitution, a unique language, and significant political autonomy when you compare them to subject types such as the Oblasts. And yeah, although they do have some independence, they still have Russian as the main language of instruction. The Russian constitution is so supreme over the local constitution, and ever since Putin came into power in the year 2000, 25 years ago, the political autonomy of the republics have slowly become less and less present in their governance, and yeah, it's just Putin just being Putin. And yeah, the reason why the republics exist is to prevent ethnic separatism, as the concept of the republics came up during the Russian Revolution, as the thought process, by the way I'm talking about the Soviets, was that if they gave them some local autonomy, they could buy the loyalty of the ethnic minorities of Russia during the rise of the USSR and during the Russian Civil War. And yeah, this together with more diversification efforts during the early years of the USSR allowed for more representation of non-Russians in the USSR. But this, however, would be backtracked by Joseph Stalin, with his purges and numerous atrocities that he sanctioned during his reign as the leader of the country. But luckily, after Stalin's death, more efforts to integrate the ethnic minorities were made in order to reverse the policies of the Stalin regime. The 1990s, however, would be a pivotal time for the republics, as during the collapse of the Soviet Union, many republics sought to seek independence from the fallen Union, and one such example came from Chechnya, that would later lead to the First and Second Chechen Wars. And yeah, basically the republics are just the autonomous countries in the Russian Federation. And this together, as much as they are privileged to have their own constitution and even some having their own national anthems, they still have the ability to be represented in the Russian Federation Council and the State Duma, and still with the same two representatives in the Federation Council in the same format. And yeah, that is pretty much the republics. They're just the autonomous countries that allow for the ethnic minorities of Russia to have their own taste of being their own countries. And yeah, that's the republics. Now we're going to be talking about the Krais. The Krais of Russia are like this. Please, for the love of God, bear with me on this one. Yeehaw! We are the Russian Krais. We are basically the frontier lands of the Russian Federation. We are big, tough, and have a lot of resources. So you can say we are the Russian Texases.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
And yeah, the word Krai means frontier or territory in the English language. And from what you can see, the reason why they're called Krais, it's basically because they're the bumfuck middle of nowhere of the Russian state. And yeah, the Krais of Russia are mostly compared with the republics and oblasts in terms of how they function, and basically they're just the bigger versions of oblasts, with the difference just being geographical and historical. And yeah, you see, the Krais of Russia look like this, and thus hence the name frontier, because they are the borderlands of the Russian Federation. And yeah, historically speaking, the Krais were mostly used as administrative divisions, as they started being used during the times of the Russian Empire in order to form local governments that could govern in favor of the Tsar in areas that were far from the Russian heartlands. But during the Soviet era, they would experience a number of reforms in their borders and administration that would make them functionally similar as their oblasts, with the key difference being that the Krais were having autonomous oblasts subordinated to them instead of the oblasts. And yeah, some random facts are that they can be divided into raions, that is just basically districts, okrugs, and city areas of much significance. And yeah, they have equal political rights like the oblasts and other federal subjects, and they can be represented in the Federation Council and State Duma, with the same two representatives in the State Duma that are elected in the same format. And yeah, so basically the Krais are the big parts of Russia that if you want to know about them, just play DayZ and walk around the map. It's roughly the same experience, let me just be honest. The Autonomous Okrugs. The Autonomous Okrugs, or just Okrugs, because let me just be honest, I'm not reading all of that, are the regions of Russia that act like how the US did with Indian reservations, but they give them more political rights and representation. Well, to some extent, in this case, because of, well, Russia. And yeah, the autonomous Okrugs are the regions of bumfuck nowhere Russia that hold ethnic minorities that don't really care that much when it comes to political autonomy and just exist to acknowledge the presence of such ethnic groups in their regions. And yeah, some ethnic groups that are represented in these Okrugs are, for example, the Chukchi for Chukotka, the Nenets for the Nenets and Yamalo Nenets, and Khanty and Mansi for, well, Khanty Mansi. And yeah, the Okrugs in the Russian administrative system are both federal subjects and divisions of other federal subjects, as some, in fact most, are put as subordinates to other neighboring oblasts, minus Chukotka that just stays in the Far East by itself, nearly touching America. And yeah, the concept of Okrugs came up during the 1920s, and back then they were called national Okrugs. And yeah, this practice was done for ethnic minority representation, and later on would be changed to autonomous Okrugs, because in 1977 the Soviet Union wanted to emphasize their autonomy, and that indeed they were just not any other division of Russia, because of, well, they're special. And yeah, during the collapse of the whole Soviet Union, the Russian government would say, hey, you're still under my control, and yeah, literally, I own you. And yeah, if you feel like it, you can just put yourself under the control of the Krai or Oblast that you're put under on. And yeah, but still by the end of the day, I still own you. And yeah, as of recent times, ever since the 1990s, the Okrugs have slowly faded away as due to issues such as economics and governance issues, they would slowly merge with the larger and more influential Oblasts and Krais that surrounded them. As of right now, there are currently 4 Okrugs in Russia, unlike the previous 10 that were presented during the 1990s. And finally, of course, they still have political representation in both the Federation Council and the State Duma, with the Federation Council still having 2 representatives that can be put in by the respective individuals in the same format. The Federal Cities. The federal cities are the major cities of Russia that actually matter to the Russian government, as they comprise of Moscow, the capital city, St. Petersburg, the former capital city, and the city of Sevastopol, that is under Russian occupation but still under the borders of Ukraine as of international law. And yeah, these cities hold significant importance due to many reasons such as economics, administration, history, culture, and many other reasons. Thus, they exist as their own entities that still hold the same level of political representation in all chambers of the Russian government. And yeah, Sevastopol and St. Petersburg more so hold significant importance because of the fact that they're port cities. And thus, if you know Russia, either from the news or from Twitter bots, you would understand that Russia really loves a warm water port. And hence, these cities are mostly under heavy control and importance by the government due to their strategic importance in the military capabilities of the Russian state. And yeah, that being said, without sugarcoating it, the reason why they roughly exist is because of the fact that due to their strategic importances, they're placed under closer administration by the Russian Kremlin, so as to have their policies closer to the Russian central government. So here we are, we're talking about the one and only Jewish Autonomous Oblast of southeastern Russia. Basically, without wasting your time, Stalin said, what if we made our own Israel? And yeah, they did that. No one wanted it because of, well, this. He youths a bunch of Jews, and bada bing bada boom, it's still a barren wasteland that exists for the sake of existing and has below 1% of its population being Jewish. But again, as always, they still have representation in the Federation Council and State Duma, and with the same format for the representation in the Federation Council. So yeah, that's basically the Russian administrative system. So yeah, I really don't have much in terms of remarks on what I can give, but basically just like and subscribe and share if possible, as I'm trying to grow this entire channel and actually, well, be an actual YouTuber. And yeah, the sources are in the description if you feel like it, and yeah, just comment on whatever you want to correct and just saying hi if possible. And yeah, I guess I can say have a nice night, have a nice day, and yeah, see you in the next video and see you in the next shorts if possible.